Are you tired of being the odd man out at family reunions or those family gatherings over the holidays because you're the one taking a photo of the family and your head is in the entire frame? Well, go to archon.com, get yourself a very reliable, sturdy, robust tripod, which are literally bendable and moldable to almost any situation. Go to archon.com, get yourself a tripod. Now, they also have devices and mounting solutions for those of you that have tablets, cell phones, whether you are a professional photographer and you have a DSLR camera, they have that too. Now, if you are a professional driver, maybe you're a gig driver, maybe you are one of those weekend warriors that earns a little bit of extra money for your family on the weekends, you do Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, you're one of those heroes, go to archon.com. They have everything you would need. And also, if you are an airline pilot, that's right, if you are an airline pilot, they actually have mounts for you too. So when you do those barrel roll flips as a United Airlines pilot, don't worry, your passengers may be freaking out, but as long as your tablet is safe, go to archon.com. Be sure to put in Hawaii at promo code and you get 20% off your entire order. Archon.com. Keeping your devices within reach. Aloha family, want to announce our new merch is up. If you go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise, it'll take you to our storefront. A very special limited run of our Vision t-shirts are up. Very special colors from Holy Land Light Olive, Sweet Banana Cream, Pure White, Sahara Desert Cream, and our final color of this offering is Sweet Baby Blue. Go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise, check out what we have. We also have pickleball paddles in multiple colors. We have stickers. Also, our and Hakora branding, we have that as well. Beanies, coffee mugs, all of those things are in our storefront. Be sure to go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise. And once again, family, thank you so much for your support. As we say in Hawaii, mahalo nui loa. Aloha family, we're excited to announce today's guest, Amber Champagne. She is the owner and founder of Champagne Apothecary, ETHYST, Skincare, and the Esthetician's Guide to Business. Amber is a licensed esthetician. She is also a best-selling author and a former senior national educator for Benefit Cosmetics. She's trained literally thousands of people that contributed to a $2 billion company. She has well over 20 years of experience in retail and also corporate management. And we're just excited to have her here with us today to talk about life, business, social media, a little bit of comedy, and what's on the horizon for her. And we're just really actually celebrating with her too, because she hit a milestone of 5 years in her brick and mortar business. So we're going to talk about that, and we're just grateful that you're here. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast.
Woke up every day like this. It's a brand new day. Hey. Wake up every morning and say it's a brand new day. Hey. Take a good day, make it great, okay? Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade. Yeah, chase those clouds away. It's a brand new day. Hey. It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day. Okay.
Well, I've been doing this for 15 years, and not 15, yeah, I get nervous every single time, in a good way, but good to have you. How you doing?
What up? It's good to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me. I am stoked to have a conversation with you. I know you have a packed agenda today, so really, really excited to just discuss some things. And yeah, man, I know the feeling, the nervous feeling is real. It doesn't go away. You know, you can get on stages with lots of people, trust me,
Yeah.
I know. And still, you know, need to do Superwoman pose to make sure that you feel at least semi-confident before you get out there. So such is life.
I'll do the Rock pose or Jason Momoa pose.
Yeah, you can call it whatever you want, but I mean, ultimately is Superwoman.
Real quick, for those that are in the live, do me a favor on Amber's channel or mine. Do me a favor, if you're enjoying this, obviously follow, obviously subscribe if you're on the YouTube or any channel that allows subscriptions, and just reshare this, repost it, whatever terminology they use, it's all the same. But we want to thank you for being here, and we're just here to share our life with you organically through a electronic format. And so we're just thankful. I got to ask, so what kind of coffee do you have? I got to ask before I get going, what kind of coffee do you sell in your store?
Yeah, so I actually just did a collaboration with Scott Patterson. If you know who Scott Patterson is, you don't know, he is the guy who played Luke on Gilmore Girls. And so anybody who knows Gilmore Girls knows it's a show run by coffee, essentially. The whole idea is coffee. He served a lot of coffee in the show. So just kind of like is part of his character. but he actually real life created a coffee company called Scotty P's Big Mug Coffee. And I connected with him a couple of years ago and started selling his coffee. And then more recently, I was like, hey, can we do a collab for the shop so that it's specific to my shop? And lo and behold, the answer was yes. So now we have a vintage vanilla profile that we did, and it's an extremely good coffee. It's a grade 1 premium coffee. If you don't know, there are grades to coffee. Typically, what you see in the grocery store is like a 4 or 5, but they have to do all of these different things, all of these different requirements to make sure that it is like that. But it gives it less acidity. Like it's been fantastic coffee. So if you're a coffee snob, you'll love it. And if you're not, you'll also love it and maybe not know why.
Well, let's pull up my inner snob. Is it a single source origin?
Yes.
Is it off of the elevations of 4,000 feet or higher?
Yes. It has to be all of these things. They can't even use any kind of deformed beans. Like if there's any malformation to the bean, they can't use it, or it can't be certified as grade 1.
Okay, I'm not going to flex too much, but I love coffee. I am biased because Kona coffee is literally the only coffee of its kind in the world just because of the soil. Now, it's not the best. That's subjective, of course. I stopped drinking drip coffee, or I stopped drinking any coffee that is I always grind literally 30 minutes before we pour every time. And I used to use centrifugal, whatever you call it, whatever. And now I only use a burr grinder. Anybody that doesn't know burr grinder is legit. It's not snobby, but it's the proper way to drink coffee. But now our electric one we had broke, so I have a hand crank. So every morning I'm like working out because it takes a long time to grind with a burr grinder. So
I will say the coffee is pre-ground because most people don't do that, and it's and we want to make sure that everybody has access to it. So it's like, what do you do? Maybe at some point we'll get another one. We just started with this first SKU in the store, and it's selling really well. So we'll see like what we do down the line. Maybe we'll do a whole bean one. Maybe we'll do another, a different flavor profile. There's lots of thoughts we have.
I have one that I drank and it's terrible, but if I pour it slowly and I let it bloom for the first couple minutes before I start pouring the water, it actually brings out a little bit more fattiness of the coffee. People that don't like, I don't use paper, so I either French press or I do Chemex without the filter, without the paper. The flavor is how do we say, unbelievable. It's like it's so unbelievable, like legit. Although people say, you can have high cholesterol. I'm like, there's other things that I can get cholesterol from. I'll get it from my coffee.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, Amber, I read her bio. One thing that really got my attention is 20 years of experience in business and obviously in what you do. I'm going to play that quick video, Amber, so people can kind of get a glimpse. I made a short 30-second promo for those that don't know. You want to know what her website looks like, and this is a small snapshot found me because she's got a huge resume. We'll talk about it in just a second, but here we go. Let's play this. Okay, so can we talk about how you came out? So congratulations, by the way. I saw 5 years, your brick and mortar business.
Yeah, thank you.
That's legit.
Yeah.
You made it past the 2 years.
I know.
And I think that's shorter now, right? It's actually shorter now because since COVID, but I don't think businesses last more than a year.
Yeah, I think the stat is more a year now to get through that first year for sure. But 5 is a big, pinnacle essentially.
Especially brick and mortar where you got to pay per square foot and you got to the daily, make sure you hit a goal every day. Like you got to hit it, because if not, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, your store, how many square feet is your store? I've seen some pictures. How many square
My
feet do you
store is
have?
small. It's only maybe about like 800 square feet. But we do have over 400 SKUs. So both in there and online.
400.
Yeah. So it's a lot, there's a lot within it. A very small gem that has a lot of different varieties of things that can help you.
Well, square footage is not really that important, especially in today's environment, right? Because you can do a lot of online things. So it's more of what you have at home. I don't know if you have a garage with products. You know what I mean?
A whole section of my house, really. But yeah.
Yeah. I had a friend in business in Hawaii. He had a restaurant. I wouldn't even call it a restaurant because he didn't have seats. He had a window. He had 500 square feet in Waikiki. And at the time, I think he was paying $10 a square foot. So basically $5,000 a month he had to pay for a small little, and all he served was, we call it plate lunch, like, chicken katsu, beef teriyaki, all that stuff. And he made, I want to say I can't remember, I want to say ballpark at around $5,000 a day. That's before expenses. And so I asked him, Sonny, would you ever want to have a bigger restaurant where people can sit down? And he's like, why would I want them to sit down? Mm-hmm. That means I can't serve as many people. Get your food and get out of here.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
I don't need the square foot. I just need you to come buy your food and get out of here.
Yep.
And so square footage is not, it's kind of overrated. I think it's kind of a flex, I think, for people with businesses. Oh, how many square feet you got? How big is your shop?
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. And I agree with you. I mean, my dad owned a pizza joint for years, and my brother ended up taking over it at one point. And it's like, it was one of those like in and out places. And honestly, that's how they made their business. You know what I mean? Because otherwise people are hanging around and you don't have enough space and time, and it constrains you. So
we had a very good friend. They had a very successful real estate investing business, but his liquid money was his restaurant. He had a breakfast joint. They opened, I think, 6 a.m., closed at 2 every day. That's all he needed was the breakfast hours. And one of our really good friends, and before they became my friends, I remember going to the restaurant and like I would order my food, and as soon as the food came, they would give you the check, put it right on your table. And I'm like, oh, I'm not done yet. And they would give me this look like, and I never forget, one time me and my wife were ordering food, and they came back and they go, are you almost done? I'm like, oh my God, these guys are so rude. Later on, they became our friends, and they told us why they were like that, because they want to get you out of there. They don't care about tips. They could care less because they're going to make their money,
Yeah.
But so in your business, when do you sleep? Because you're a business owner, right? Brick and mortar, and you work even after the doors are closed, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I work a lot. I'm pretty, like, I've gotten to a point where I really understand my business so well that I manage things in a very specific way each week, and I'm a really organized person, like maybe too much so sometimes in things. I'm kind of free flowing when it comes to stuff like this, but like when it comes to, structural organization and all of that, and like what I know I need to get done, I have specifics that I work on constantly. So I've gotten myself into a rhythm where I take days off. I own a business that is based on self-care. So I first and foremost prioritize my own self-care and my family and what is important in my life. So it's, yes, I work a lot, but I also intentionally like make sure that I have days off, make sure that I have time to myself. And I sleep using magnesium butter, really is what it is.
Wait, hold on. Like pill, or you get the butter and eat the butter with magnesium?
No, so it's not butter that you eat. So it's a body butter. So you put it on the bottom of your feet and before you go to bed, like 10 minutes before you go to sleep. And it helps you go to sleep. And it also helps with tons of other stuff because magnesium is responsible for over 300 biochemical responses in the body. So you're dealing with...
That's smart.
Yeah, you're dealing with everything like cognition, cardiovascular, digestion, all of the things that are happening. But sleep is one of the first benefits that you see. It also really helps with restless legs, which now that I'm in my 40s, I have a lot of. So it's very...
Wait, hold on. You're in your what? 40s?
Yeah, that's correct.
No. You know what's funny? I'm in my 40s, right? And I always look at people in their 40s. I'm like, dude, they're old. And my wife and I are like, dude, they're old. You know, they're like, wait a minute, we're in our we're in our 40s. Yeah.
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 We're not old.
I know.
We're not
I
old.
agree. I'm not either. But I know what you're saying for sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to catch
it's
you on
okay.
that. And
I do own a skincare line. I am a licensed esthetician, which is that word.
Esthetician.
Yeah.
What did I say? Esthetician?
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay.
Esthetician.
You're not the only one, honestly. Esty. I say Esty if that's easier. You know what I mean?
No, that doesn't sound right. It sounds
That's what it is.
Yeah.
They call it an Esty. But yeah, so there's that, definitely helps in terms of aging and all of that. But yeah, the magnesium is really, it's really effective for everything in your body. If somebody was ever wondering if they should, supplement something, that would be the first mineral that I would go to, is like say to get some magnesium in your system, because it will help you with sleep first and foremost. And I just saw that the Evolved Dad wrote in the comments, sleep is so key. And it's like, it's true, because it runs into every other thing. So just know that if you're struggling with sleep, there are real solutions out there that can truly help you. So don't feel like you have to suffer in silence and in the dark in the middle of the night. Nobody wants that for you.
I got really huge with magnesium. I just putting it out there. I used to take magnesium. I got massive. I'm just kidding. I didn't. But I used to take magnesium. So zinc, magnesium, and anyways, it was called, I can't remember all the ingredients. It was called ZMA. So ZMA is a patented formula from Snack Nutrition. And a lot of bodybuilders would take it
Arginine,
before they
maybe?
went to sleep. I think, something with blood flow.
Yeah.
But I agree. And the fact that you put it on your feet.
Yeah, well, that's the best part, because magnesium does often help or often cause stomach issues for people and digestive issues. It just doesn't break down the same way in our gut that we think. So it's topically, they're doing all these studies on it still currently, and there's lots of stuff that you can check out online. But topically, anything that you put on your skin goes into your system within 10 minutes. So it's like, it's just easily like regulated, easily absorbed, and it just works really well. So
my kids are homeschooled. They've been homeschooled for 7 years. And one of my sons, he always flexes his brain. He's like, Dad, did you know what your biggest organ in your body is? I'm like, my heart? He goes, nope. Skin.
It's your skin.
Yeah. I said, wow, my son flexes on skin. He flexes on World War I, World War II. He flexes.
I love it.
But yeah, skin, legit, right? That's it's your gateway to your body.
It is. And that's why, like, when I talk about skincare, a lot of people think it's froofy. A lot of men especially, like, don't necessarily think about doing skincare regularly. Yeah. But in reality, you really should, because it's part of your overall health. It's not just about vanity and anti-aging and all those things. It's also about taking care of your overall skin health, because your skin is your largest organ. And all kinds of different things can come through the microchannels in your skin, external, free radicals, toxins, viruses. Different things can actually cause problems through your body by way of your skin. And especially like in this area, right? Like this area for us is always exposed for the most part. So it's like, if you take care of this, if you make sure that you're not getting those channels, that everything is really closed up and secure, you have less of an issue with things attacking your system that it has to fend off.
In Hawaii, I'm spoiled, like, because we have a very high humidity. Like every day, it's 82 degrees, 365 days out of the year. It rains every day. It also is sunny every day. Right now, so we're in Oregon, so we still have our family, our property, and we still do business in Hawaii. But here where we live, it's like high desert. It's dry, and I hate lotion. I cannot stand. I don't put on sunscreen. When I'm in Hawaii, my wife is like, put on lotion. I said, no, I don't like it. I can't stand it. And even today, if she catches me putting on lotion, she's like, oh my God, honey, like, come on, because I only put on like a quarter. When my wife puts on lotion for me, I can't stand it, but I appreciate it because she'll put on like a gallon of like just everything, just slaps it on me and just like, yeah, I couldn't think of another word. So I'm like, oh my God, honey, come on, man. But you know what? I'm telling you, bro, lotion, legit. And then she has this, and we'll look at your products, but I agree, man. Most guys don't think about that. But
and they should.
If you come to a high desert, you will, because your skin cracks. It's just crazy, But I do agree, most men do not, and they need to.
They do.
Exfoliants, all that stuff. And my wife, she gets happy when she puts on this one face scrub thingy, and then when I come out of the shower, she puts on this. I don't even know what you call it, but I'll have her type it in the chat. Whatever it is. So I'm sure you've got products, and for those that don't know, go to Champagne Apothecary. You can look at all of our products. But thank you for chasing the comments, Amber. I appreciate that.
Of course.
So what other products? Now the ETHYST line, I did kind of look at the basics of it. Can you explain to us the ETHYST skincare? What is the thought process before you starting it?
Okay, wait, what was the same? Sorry, what was the last part?
The thought process.
Oh, the thought process. Yeah,
I think it was.
So I actually ended up getting cystic acne after I had my first son, many moons ago. He just turned 19, so this is a long time ago. But I never had problems with my skin before that, and I was in my early 20s at the time. I was like going to every dermatologist, every esthetician. I was trying to get answers, figure it out. I had terrible cystic acne underneath my chin and all on my neck. And I'm a young woman in my early 20s, so it's quite embarrassing. And I want to get rid of it, right? And it just seemed like no one could help me. I tried so many things and just nothing was going on. Well, simultaneously, I was working in the cosmetics industry at one point, little later on, and I wanted to get into education, which is what eventually ended up, leading me to benefit. But I wanted to get into the education industry. And at the time, I was working for another company. I was being trained in order to become an educator, but I had to get an esthetician's license. And I was like, you know what? I want to fix my skin anyways. I'm going to go do it. So I worked full time and I went to school full time and I got my license. And immediately I knew I wanted to create something that would help people in the situation that I was in, but I didn't even know at that moment like what it was, because when you go get your license, you're just studying to take the test, pass your sanitation. It's not, you have to go in and you have to really research things, right? So I started researching all kinds of stuff after, like trying to figure out what exactly was going on with my skin, experimented with so many different things. Eventually, as my research went on, experimented and trialed with other people that I knew, clients that I then had. And what I found through all of my studies was that really what you needed to do was propagate the skin's microbiome correctly so that it would be in symbiosis. Your skin is already naturally doing what it needs to do, right? Your skin is already naturally making collagen. It's already naturally allowing your oil system to function, your hydration system to function. And what happens as we age is those things start to slow. And then we also come across hormonal issues where hormones try to start causing problems in our bodies. And what we find in the skincare industry is the anti-aging products are really made for, honestly, I don't really know who, because even like the eldest of women and men, a lot of them use my product and get great results out of it because they're still dealing with hormonal issues, because we just deal with hormones for our whole life. But those are very heavy. And what they do is they cause problems for people who are dealing with hormonal issues. And then hormonal treatments are actually too aggressive and cause aging. But what I found was, through the process of studying, was that when you allow the microbiome to be in symbiosis, it's going to propagate in an optimal fashion, like in the best possible way that it can. So all you really need to do is give back to the skin what it already naturally needs. So for example, your collagen process. People think they can put collagen on their face and they can just get collagen, or they can ingest collagen and it's gonna go right to their face. That's not how it works. You need omega-3s, you need vitamin C, you need phospholipids, you need different things that come together and actually help to build collagen. So what the line does is it provides those ingredients in each of the products, and it's curated throughout to help one another balance itself out as well. And those things help to propagate your systems and make them function in an optimal fashion. It both combats hormonal issues and aging simultaneously without causing issues for anything that's going on, because it's naturally what's living in your skin. And yeah, it's like, it's all gluten-free, paraben-free, cruelty-free, vegan, fragrance-free, and made in the US. It's kind of dreamy, honestly. It's unheard of in the skincare industry to be able to combat both. And that's why it's so successful. That's why people all over the world are using it and finding success. It doesn't matter, if you're a man, if you're a woman, what your background is, what your ethnicity is, because our skin's microbiome, the science of what's going on inside of our bodies and our skin, it operates the same regardless. So it was really more, it really came about more of that, and just like figuring out that, like, why people were looking for all these, I don't know, people are still out there looking for cutting edge ingredients and wondering like what they can do, to stop the aging process, which is fine, great. But how do we maintain and get it to work in an optimal fashion in the meantime with ETHYST? That's how.
So I imagine some of the ingredients that people try to use outside of vitamin C and the other ingredients that you have. I know I have a little bit of experience with supplements because I use my body as a test tube in my bodybuilding days, but there are some ingredients that outside of each other, if they're not used together, for example, anybody that wants to build muscle, there's certain transporters of certain supplements that if you don't have it, it's not going to work. I don't know the fancy word, but you're basically going to crap it out. Versus there are some supplements you got to have a transporter mechanism to whatever supplement you're taking. So I imagine that formula you have has something to that effect, like the vitamin C. I think I read vitamin C is very important to have in that what you got.
Yeah.
But here's a question. So the test that you did you test it on yourself? Did you have some family throw it on them? And how did that work? How did you figure out, okay, this is it? This is the one. What made you decide, okay, I think I've got it?
Through a lot of experimenting on myself and other people, and then through clients through many years. Discovering like which ingredients were really making the most impact, you know what I mean? Like what was doing what, and just really studying all of that stuff like a super nerd. Honestly, when it comes to this, I'm just a nerd for it. I love it. I constantly am reading about it. I'm always wondering like what they have out there and what they're trying to do next. And it was a lot of experimenting. And then when we went into development, I mean, it took, 3 years essentially to develop. So it wasn't like an overnight thing. It was like, here's my idea. Here's like what I think we should go with. Here's what I think is going to make sense based on all of my research. And then it was like creating iterations of those things and finding like, are they working well together? And then it was like me trying it. And then it was, people that I knew trying it and giving me feedback on stuff. And so it was a whole process, done in tandem with a cosmetic chemistry team to come up with like what exactly was going to work, not only within each product, but then within the line together.
You don't have to disclose if you don't want to, but so when you did your testing, did you have to pay like a third party, or did you have someone that you employed for any type of testing?
So I had to encourage people that I knew to test certain things out, and give me feedback.
Yeah.
And mostly that was a lot of like, here, take this free product and tell me what you think about it.
Let me know if you get any rash.
Yeah. But all the R&D and all of the stuff that went into development was done alongside a couple different cosmetic teams within bigger manufacturers. I mean, I work with manufacturers that work with the likes of like Clinique and different stuff like that.
Okay.
So it was done within all of that. And then they have all of their processes in place, obviously, on their end as well. So it's kind of like a combination of those two things.
The reason why I asked that is I used to work for, I won't say who, but I used to work for a lot of supplement companies. Not a lot, a few. Not even companies, but more retail. And one of the things I learned is that there's not a lot of people that actually make products. Right, they actually get all their supplies from either India, China, maybe Mexico, and some other but predominantly mostly in the Asian countries, and they bring it and they process it. I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 actual manufacturers in the United States that actually make this stuff, and then they sell it out to these companies that slap a label on it. And I remember you saying, I can't remember which one I listened to or I read it somewhere. For people that are trying to buy any products, whether it's beauty, supplement, internal supplements, the companies can say whatever they want on the front end. They can say anything they want to. They can say, make you look younger. It can make you flex, be massive like, Incredible Hulk. But the one thing that they cannot lie on is the label on the back that says either supplement facts, nutritional facts, or it has to have every ingredient unless it's proprietary, right? So that's one thing I was in the area of caution for anybody that's trying to buy a product, is be very aware of what you're buying. And your oils that you have, I remember I listened, you talking to Waylon. So your oil, essential oils, those are 100%, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% pure. And I told people in that interview, and I'll tell them again here, very quick, easy way to figure out if you have a pure oil on your hand. Put a drop of it on a white piece of paper. Let it dry. Some of them take 2 hours. Some of them take 24 hours. Once it's dry, if there's no ring left on the paper, you'll know that it's a pure oil.
What would they mix it with? A cheaper oil?
Yeah, filler. Or different like cheaper oils. Different fragrance oils sometimes are inside of those things. So yeah, it's you just gotta be careful. It's why we only have 15 oils, and it's because it's really hard to find them in pure form, and really actually in a pure form. And I won't bring anything in that has any kind of filler in it. So it's like we slowly but surely, find things. But yeah, it's pretty easy to figure out if it's not or whatever. But you're right. Like within all of this, the marketing can be pretty much anything it wants to be.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's highly unregulated, which is scary in some circumstances, which is why people need to know what they're looking at. Even like INCI. So like INCI is the dictionary that we use in order to write ingredients on labels, right? INCI makes it so that globally everybody says the same thing when it comes to something. So something like tocopherol acetate might sound scary to the regular consumer, but it's actually vitamin E. And it's just the INCI name for it, right? So it's like knowing stuff like that is really important, because that is what helps you to understand like what's really going on inside of the products. And it's really the only basis we have for the most part, except for vetting the companies that you're dealing with and trying to see if you can find as much information as possible.
Have you ever used PubMed.org like in your research?
Yeah, tons of it. I've read so many studies.
For people that don't know, PubMed.org, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Amber, but PubMed.org is a great resource to research clinical trials on products that you're considering or the type of ingredients that you're interested in. And I think is it a government? I can't remember. I know it's
it's like National Institute of Health and stuff connected. It's all of that stuff is in there. And I would say definitely look at the studies. And if you are going to look for studies, be very open-minded when you're looking at studies, and find studies that are contraindicative to one another, and read them thoroughly and see where the red threads are between them, because that's what's actually going to give you the real information that you need, is where are the disparities in the different studies, because a lot of studies have biases too. So you have to take that into account. But you can find if you can find many studies that corroborate the same information, and then you can look at the other studies that are maybe contraindicative to those studies and show you the negative sides of like what's what, that's how you can really understand the information and if it's worthy or not. But it does take a lot of work and research.
There was a study I read, and I won't give the detail because it'll spark conversation that I don't want to have, but there was a study that I read a few years ago, let's just say around 2020. I read these studies in 2020, and these were clinicals that were published for the public. And when I read this clinical trials, basically they tested this product on 40,000 individuals, and out of the 40,000, only 20,000 of the results were actually turned in or counted The other 20,000 were discarded for various reasons, and out of that 20,000, they actually kept maybe 8 or 9,000, and then they used that number based upon the 20,000, not the 40,000. And so that clinical trial was used to boost confidence in people wanting to use or buy the product, not even buy the product, use the product. And so when I read that, and there were several other clinical studies done against that as well, like you said, and it really helped me form an opinion for myself and my family. And it really, it shed some light on how companies will use a clinical trial and use it to promote their product. And it's interesting how there's not requirements, even in clinical studies, to post even how unless you really get a fine tooth comb and you read through it, you're going to miss it. And so I'm glad I read that. And it's like you said, you got to go through it. You got to find those red threads, because if you don't, you're going to be, oh, wow, 95% of people that use a product, they're fine. They're totally fine.
Yeah, don't go in and read the abstract and the conclusion and think like you know it all, because it's honestly, the devil is in the details, seriously. And there are so many clinical studies that will tell you that herbal remedies are like the scariest thing on the planet. Like, don't use lavender, they don't want you to know willow tree bark is Tylenol. And I mean, it's like, it's kind of interesting, but there's definitely a lot of interests, I'll just say, that go behind a lot of those things. And that's why it is important to really like weed through it and see like what's what and educate yourself.
I guess we can go there. So nobody ever questions why. Okay, let's say we get pulled over today. Me and Amber and a whole bunch of us are driving somewhere, and the cop pulls us over and he's, hey, you're arrested. Okay, let's go to the courthouse. And we'd be like, what? Okay. Cop gets us to the courthouse. He takes off his police uniform, puts on a judge uniform. He sentences us for 5 years imprisonment. And then he takes off his judge robe and he goes to the jail and he throws us in jail. And we're like, wait, what just happened? And people don't realize that that's what our FDA is. People don't realize we have a government organization that is in charge of your food and your drugs. Nobody questions that. Nobody ever, wait a minute. Why are they in charge of the food and our drug? And why are they regulating that? And for people like Amber in her company, to get a label, FDA label, if she were to, correct me if I'm wrong, if supplement companies, it's extremely hard to get any type of backing or endorsement by the FDA.
Everything that we have is regulated by the FDA technically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like all of that, like all the manufacturers and stuff have to be, they are FDA approved like facilities. So they do have to go through inspections and all kinds of stuff like on that end. It's where the marketing comes into play that gets like weird, because they don't necessarily regulate marketing. They regulate the products. But even with that, it's like, like what are the parameters, And then it gets interesting, like in skincare. So skincare is cosmetic on one side, but then when you go and you deal with sunscreen, that's in pharmaceutical. So that pharmaceutical goes through different stipulations and regulations than the regular cosmetics do.
Well, what is the chemical in sunscreen that makes it a pharmaceutical?
Sunscreen in general is just labeled as a pharmaceutical. All the sunscreen ingredients. So your any of your mineral sunscreens, like your titanium dioxide, your zinc oxide, stuff like that. Then you've got your other side of things, which is not good. Your oxysalates and your avobenzines and all of those things that you should stay away from when it comes to sunscreen. But those are all considered pharmaceutical ingredients and therefore are considered a pharmaceutical, even though they're part of a cosmetic line. Technically, usually.
Do you use sunscreen at all? Any type of sunscreen?
I do. I use mineral sunscreen. We have a mineral sunscreen. It's titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. And I would encourage anybody who's using sunscreen to use a mineral sunscreen, because it is the healthiest form of sunscreen that you can use. And again, stay away from a lot of the stuff on the shelves in, in those major marketers areas, CVS's, Walgreens, all those places, because there's a lot of junk, scary stuff in a lot of sunscreens, to be perfectly frank. But sunscreen is a tough topic because the sun is not our friend. It is and it isn't. Like, there are certain things that we need from it, but then it does cause a lot of problems for people. So you have to be careful out there for sure.
Without sounding like I'm giving you pushback, I will say I agree. Regionally, and we notice that here, and this is by no means. I'm not going to say it in a negative way, but so like when my kids came here with us to Oregon, like they're not used to seeing people that are not brown or tan skin or darker, and they were tripping out. Like one of my sons said, "Wow, Dad, like this guy is like super red, like his skin was like on fire," and it was in the summertime. See, like my sons will go outside for like, I'm not even joking, but my son, they can just look at the sun and they get tan. I'm not even kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Like so we're Hawaiian. I'm Hawaiian, Chinese, Filipino. My wife is Hawaiian, Puerto Rican, Samoan, Tongan, and Maori. So a lot of the, generationally speaking, our ethnicities were always in the sun. So I know there's some science behind it where our bodies build up a different tolerance. But when my son saw this white dude, like he was baked like a lobster, and like literally, and my son was like, "That looks like it hurts." I told him, "I'm sure it does, son."
Yeah, melanin in itself does provide some screening for people. So if the darker complected you are, the better off you are, but it doesn't provide immunity. So
Right.
that is like, so there is just a natural sunscreen, so to speak, within melanin, but it doesn't necessarily take care of everything. So that's kind of like where that whole thought process stands in general. You're going to see less people who are darker complected dealing with, melanomas and other serious burns and issues like that. But it's not non-existent either.
My dad had melanoma, even though we're from Hawaii, born and raised. But I will agree. Like I joked about it in the beginning. Like my wife, every time we go beach, she would always tell me, "Honey, you got to put on sunscreen." I said, "No, I'm fine, honey. Like, no worry, I get them, brah." Like because growing up, I never used. I would joke about it. I don't joke about it now. I'm 48. I don't play around with it now. But I used to tell her, "Don't worry, honey, because when I get tan and when I get sunburn, just peel off the skin because the skin peels, right? And we have a fresh new layer. It was so stupid, but a fresh new layer of skin. No worry, honey, just peel them off and get the new skin underneath." I was like, yeah, that's stupid, family. So don't do that. I don't give you guys that advice. But I will say, your passion for what you do is, I will say, is legit, because I went through your website, I went through the products. I did also notice the business side of it. Are you still actively doing the, I'm going to just use a blanket statement, but like a coaching type of business? Are you still doing that?
Yeah, I don't really do much with it anymore, aside from the people that I've been working with consistently for years. So what I found in the like coaching side of things was, there's a lot of people looking for answers and wanting to run a business, but there's less people who actually want to take the initiative and do what they need to do and hear from a mentor that there are things that they need to change about their business. There have been times where I have gone in, and one of the first things I would ever do with any other esthetician is a pricing strategy. So looking through like what exactly they were expending, and then how much, they like what their prices were, and basically essentially seeing if they're bleeding money or not. And I will tell you, 9.9 times out of 10, they are slowly dying. Their prices are too low. They're putting themselves in comparison to the esthetician down the street. They're not taking
Yeah.
into account anything from a business perspective. And that's because people can be really, really good at what they do in their trade and not be a good business person. And the challenge there is that when you start to tell people things like this, they get all worried and they're like, oh, well, how am I'm going to lose my clients if I raise my prices. No, you're not. We took a client that I've been working with for years and she was bleeding money. We doubled her prices, cut her hours in half, and she makes double the amount of money that she made when we first started working together because she listened to the strategy and she actually went in and did what she needed to do. But most people don't necessarily want to do that. Most people actually, I think, through coaching, find that maybe they don't want to be a business owner because being a business owner is not easy. You know, you have to have a mentality that's like that's okay with ebb and flow. You have to have a mentality that's okay with understanding that you have great ideas, but you can't be married to them. You have to know what is working, and you have to listen to feedback, and you have to keep pivoting and changing and evolving. And it's like, that's not necessarily the road for everybody. So I think that a lot of people find through those programs, which is actually great, you know, if they are working with somebody, they find that that's maybe not what they want to do. Maybe they want to just go and do their job, right? They like really providing the service that they provide. And for me, it's like, I don't have a lot of time anymore either. So I only want to work with people who are invested. I don't want to, you know, I'm happy. I go on, like, for example, I go on X all the time. I share self-care information. I do meditations. I have conversations about all kinds of things. It's not about the numbers for me. It's about the people who like want the information. If you want the information, it's there. It's free. Use it. If you don't, that's okay too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not here to convince you that I have the information that's going to change your life. I do have information that's going to change your life, but you have to want it, you know? So I think that side of things for me was like, I quickly was like, not my jam. Would love to help some people who really, you know, want something and want to do something, but don't want to be, you know, fishing for people or trying to convince people that like I have the answers for them. Because first of all, I'm just a partner, you know, and I'm here to give you the wisdom and the knowledge that I have from all of the years that I've done all of these different things. But I'm just a partner, and you ultimately have to be a wise business person yourself too, or at least wanting to become one to be able to work alongside me. So there's a lot that goes into that. Coaches who say they have the answers for everybody just doesn't even make sense to me, because you have to, like, I'm in the nitty with these people that I still work with. I'm in the nitty gritty of their business. Like, I know all of their business. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not just like, oh, this blanket statement. It's like, and every one of them, and there's only 3 people that I work with consistently still. And every one of them are incredibly different people. Their businesses are incredibly different. They, you know, they operate in very different ways, but we utilize foundational stuff to help each one of them get to where they're going. But yeah, it's like that. And then again, I don't have time. I have so many other things moving. I don't have time. I think ultimately, what I'd like to do is I'm working towards, essentially, I would like to at some point get a buyout on the skincare line. I'd like it to get out to as many people as it possibly can. And I know that I'm never going to be able to do that myself, because I'm up against Estee Lauder, L'Oreal, and LVMH. They own everything. So, and I used to work for LVMH. So I know like the behind the scenes of like what goes on there. I am looking for that because I want as many people to be able to find this solution as possible. And then I think ultimately I'll never stop working. That's something I know that I'll never do. But I would like to ultimately, in the long run, again, maybe come back and come alongside people who I can invest in, who want to do what they want to do, who like want to bring some great solution to the market, or, you know, and actually have like the will and the want to put their time and energy into building their own business. So it's given me food for thought for the future. It's helped some people along the way, and it's there, but it's not there, if that makes sense.
There's a famous quote, I wrote it down somewhere, by Jim Rohn, he's passed away now, but he's a business philosopher, multimillionaire. He says, for anybody that's in leadership, is to understand to invest your time where it's deserved, not necessarily where it's needed. It's exactly what you said. Just because someone has a need, that doesn't mean that they deserve it. And it's not to be mean. It's that if you're busy and you're in leadership, you can't be investing your time in every single need. There has to be a deserving of your time, because there's a reason why, right? That it's called the 5% versus the 95%. The 5%ers are the ones that don't quit. The 5%ers are the ones that when they need more money, they don't get another job. They just create another business or another stream of income. They don't go out there and say, let me go kill myself for another 40 hours a week to create income. No, let me find a way to make money while I'm sleeping. And I'm excited. When you're talking, I'm thinking, I think the pinnacle, and maybe it's not for you, but I think the pinnacle of anybody that starts a business is for their product to hit the shelves of Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's a joke, but everybody that's successful on social media or their own company, once it hits the shelves of Walmart or Target, they're done. And they go do another business. They do another product, whatever. But I hope you do get a buyout. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, ideally, I'd love to do something with QVC. I think the product would work incredibly well for their platform. And, or like a Sephora. I'd less... There's just things about the Sephora Ulta world. I spent a lot of time in that world that I don't necessarily want to go out and do again. And so ideally, I'm like, man, QVC is where it's at. I hope that we end up in a partnership with them for sure, because that would be the most ideal. Walmart, I don't know that my product is made for Walmart, but I understand this sentiment.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm just talking about the paycheck.
I know what you mean. I was just messing with you.
Well, so I don't know if you knew this, but I used to work for Paul Mitchell, and I didn't do the products. I actually worked for the owner. I'll just leave it. He passed away actually in January. I think he had 1,000 properties around the world, and he owned shopping malls and all that. But I worked for him at his home in Hawaii. That's where I met all the famous people. Those were all his friends, and was able to meet some very cool people. But I remember their mission statement was to never sell their products in stores. That was their mission for years. It was only available to stylists and salons that let them have the profits. Well, obviously that changed because I seen their products in stores, so, but what an interesting story, that they started their company with $700 and they were homeless. They literally started their business in the back of a hatchback car, and they sold the products. And I actually copy a lot of their practices. So like for business cards, for example, I only use black and white. The reason why they did black and white is because they couldn't afford color. So that was the reason why the products were black and white for a very long time. But what a great success story. And I wish you well in that, because if it does get, into that realm, it's not about the money, but it kind of is. I mean, like, let's just be honest. It's not about us being consumed by it.
Yeah.
But generational wealth is not for us. If you really think about it, it's for our children's children, to where they don't have to struggle to be who they were called to be. I think the dream of any parent is you don't want your kids to struggle just to become who they want to be because of finances. That's the last thing as a parent we want our kids to struggle, is to do what they're called to do and not do it because maybe they don't have the money.
Yeah,
right?
I never want my son to do something that he doesn't love. And I've had that conversation with him many times over the years. I'm like, look, you do need money. That's a fact. That's just how our society operates. But never grind yourself into. I've done it myself. So it's like, I know, it's like, just don't grind yourself into the Middle Earth for something that you don't even care about. It's very easy to do. You can go out there and do it very easily, but it's not something that I want. And again, to the point of being able to supply more ammunition to the small business community, I think that would be something that's honestly an incredible opportunity to be able to do too. Right now, as a business owner, I already give 10% of my proceeds annually to local organizations that help with anti-bullying, cancer research, women and children. And we give a meal to Feeding America for every candle that we sell. So I'm already doing that kind of stuff, and I will continue to do that at any level that I'm at. So that's another opportunity that I can, give and help. It's like giving back to other people who want to like build up small businesses and really like fortifying the small business community in the country, I think is a great thing to be able to provide. And then, yeah, like obviously providing solace for my family and for myself to be able to go out, do what I love, help other people, and just like, do as much as I can for the planet and the world while I'm here, whatever that may look like.
So you started your business right around the pandemic, is that?
Yeah, 2019. Mm-hmm.
And you made it.
Mm-hmm. It was crazy.
How did you survive that? I mean, because shutdown. Now, your brick and mortar is in Massachusetts?
Now, yes, but originally it was in California. I was living in California at the time.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I came back like a few years ago because my dad got sick, and I wanted to spend time with him while I could. So, but previous to that, I was living in Huntington Beach, California. I had lived there for like nearly a decade. So,
Huntington Beach, okay.
Very different life. Loved it.
Well, let me say this real quick. I'm sorry to hear about your dad. Yeah. I did see that post, and I can't say I know what you feel like because my dad is still alive, but I did lose my mom back in 2014. So I what's funny? I didn't watch or read all the detail about your dad, but one of the fears I had when my mom passed away was, I was telling my wife, I said, the biggest fear that I have when she passes, I told her was, I don't want to forget all those good memories. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, I kept my mom's voicemail on my phone. I play it every once in a while. I finally deleted it, and my wife said, "Why'd you delete it?" I said, "I don't need it anymore. I'm good now." But I wish I kept it, and I'm like, man, I should have kept it. But that was one of my fears, right? Was to not be able to remember all the good stuff, and it's a legit like. I love the memories I have of my mom. I really do. And I got some videos and stuff. And I saw that photo of your dad behind, I think, piano.
Oh, yeah. A video of him playing the piano. Mm-hmm.
A video. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I did watch the video. Wow, this dude is classically trained. Like, wow.
It's crazy.
And you play piano too, right?
A little bit, yeah. Not like him. Oh, my gosh. He was a prodigy, honestly. He was playing incredibly well when he was like 5 years old. But me, I dabble in it, is what I'll say. I utilize it to compose like random things for myself. I'm not like technically trained and all of that, but I'm a singer and I love music and I have my dad's piano. It's actually right behind me, back there.
It's a grand, right? Is that a baby grand or a
baby
grand?
And so yeah, so I play around, but I am not anything like he was. He was a talent. Honestly, he incredible player. Really learned a lot about like classical music in general from him, and when I was a kid, I was always like, oh, it's so boring. But now I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool that I got to be able to do that and listen to that. When I was growing up, I listened to a lot of him playing, and that was always nice for sure. But yeah, I think
did he make you play piano?
He did when
lessons?
I was younger, and then like he tried to teach me himself, but he was he's somebody who was so great at doing what he was doing, but he was horrible at teaching it, and so it was just not a good match. We would get into spats like over just like what was going on with the piano, and I was like, I'm done with this. So yeah, but I like, it's funny that you say the forgetting. I think that my biggest thing that I face is that, to me, it seems like there's a veil that has been torn open that was not open before I lost one of my parents. Like, it's like all of a sudden, it's like they're like a barrier to something, and then you lose that barrier and you're like, what is this? Where like you're facing things in a new way. So that's been something that's like that I've been sitting with a lot, like the past couple years. And I listen to his voicemails a lot too. I have all of them. I actually want to get one of those like QR code things that you can like download into just in case just for one of them, just in case I like, end up losing anything or whatever. I have one for that he called me on my birthday. So I listen to that on my birthday every year. But yeah, it's like, it's weird. It's weird to say the least.
Do you still cry when it gets quiet and you think about him?
Yeah, I could right now.
I can too.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not hard.
No, it's not.
But being in Oregon and we're away from family, and this is probably the hardest. Like, I used to live in the South when I was a kid. But I'm still typical local brother from Hawaii. I'm straight up Hawaiian. But the second time around, now that we're living here, my wife, we were driving, and we were near the Portland area, and she just started crying. And I look at her, I said, honey, what's going on? And she just said, I miss home. I said, you know what, let's go find some place. And I kid you not, Amber, bro, I looked to the right and there's this Hawaiian food truck. I said, let's go right there. And the couple that owned the food truck was from the same place that we're from. And I spent like whatever I spent, I'm going to exaggerate, but I spent like $150 on food that we didn't even need. I just bought everything and I gave it to my wife, and she just started eating the poke, and she started crying. And it's crazy how these little nuggets, whether it's a voicemail, it can be poke, it was heavy, but it was good. It was a good heavy. And that's what I was telling her. I said, God, I don't want to forget those things that my mom did for me. I don't want to forget the bad stuff too, because, bro, I'll tell you this story. When I was a kid, I was bad. I was naughty.
Oh,
bro.
same. Same.
Bro, one time I remember my wife, and I know my dad's going to watch this later. He's like, that's not how it happened. But I remember how it happened, because my mom kicked me out of the car and I was screaming. And I watched her leave me in the parking lot. And I was screaming bloody murder as a little kid. Ah! And she left me in the parking lot. And then like 5 minutes later, she came back around and picked me up, put me back in the car. And my dad was, that's not what happened. But what really happened was I was just being unruly. I didn't want to get in the car. My mom being frustrated. She just left me in the parking lot, but she didn't leave me. She drove around the parking lot and watched me the entire time while I'm screaming. And it's memories like that I'm very grateful that I remember those things. And, but getting back to the music. So do you play anything else besides piano?
No,
and sing?
No, I don't play any other instruments. I just never have. I've always been mostly a vocalist more than anything, which is kind of a miracle in its own right, because I was born with a cleft palate. And
wow.
Yeah, and when I was born, my parents didn't even know that I had it, because there was no genetic history of this. My mom learned that I had it when I was close to like 6 months old, because she recognized that I only recognized her when they were in front of me, and when they were behind me, it's like I couldn't hear them. I didn't know what was going on. So she took me to the doctor, and they found out that I had a cleft palate. I ended up having to get like a couple surgeries. They reconstructed everything inside of what's going on. So it's like I still to this day have like all kinds of like sinus and nasal problems and whatever. I had a lot of ear infections growing up, and so many different things that I dealt with. I went to speech classes for like 9 years.
Wow.
I couldn't say S's and R's, and I had a lot of problems with that. So the fact that I went on to be a global level facilitator and presenter, and then also, have a gift of a singing voice is pretty miraculous in and of itself. So I've always been really thankful for that gift, and I try to use it as much as possible. But I like other things in my life like took precedence, and it's just something that I kind of do. In general, my son is very musically inclined. It's his whole life really now. and he does a lot of like engineering and production and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think music runs in my veins. My sister was trained as a violinist. My brother plays guitar and drums and has been in many bands and all kinds of stuff like that. Composed a lot of stuff, so it's just kind of naturally a thing for us. But I never really I never put too many hours into doing things like that.
I think I think everybody has that in them. I'm a firm believer that is how we express, and for people that subscribe to this or not, but like for what I believe is that we were created in a sense of to worship. So that worship aspect of how we were created, there's something that has a rhythm or a musical note to it. That's why we have a voice. It wasn't just to talk, right? And there's a reason why when we use our voices in a certain way, there are tones that are pleasing and beautiful, and there are tones that are not, right? So I do believe musically that we're all inherently have that ability, and some express it a little bit differently than others. My youngest son, my wife named him basically a war cry from birth, right? And to this day, he is the loudest of everybody in our house. He's got a beautiful voice. He's got a raspy voice, and he's a great speaker. And it's funny you say that, because when I was younger, I don't think my dad said I didn't talk until I was like 5, so they thought something was wrong with me. So, and when I first started talking, I said a full sentence. So, and I've always had issues with I was shy as a kid, but then I remember I was just telling my wife this story last night. I said, honey, I remember when I was 7. My dad put me in this music, I had to take guitar and ukulele, all this stuff. And I'm glad for that. But I still remember when I was 7, how terrified I was. So in Hawaii, we have this May Day where all the classes come together on May 1st and we celebrate. And then each class does their performance. I did one performance with my class, but I also performed with, I forget, it was like a music class. And so it was me, my guitar teacher, and we call them kumus, and basically like the elders, the older ladies, and they did a Hawaiian song. I was so terrified to this day. I can remember what it felt like to be in front of my peers and just performing. But I'm so glad my dad did that, because now in my house we have, I don't know, I can't even count. We have instruments in Hawaii too. I think, we have ukuleles in our storage in Hawaii, but we have, like 5 guitars, 3 or 4 ukuleles. We got 3 drum sets here for our kids just to play. We wanted to have that because I had that to be able to express, and we just got a piano. We bought a piano, and then, bro, I gotta tell you the story. Yesterday there was a piano. I went live stream, and went to an estate sale. I'd never been to one before. They were selling everything. They had a boat for $2,500, but they had this piano, beautiful piano. I'm not even kidding you. It wasn't a grand or baby grand, but it was upright. Beautiful, like immaculate. If you have time, I'll share a clip with you. But they were selling it for $90, and I was like, if I had a way to transport, I would have taken it and sold it. But I just didn't have those things are heavy. Yeah. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But real quick, I want to acknowledge comments. I know we're running low on time, but to everybody that's watching on Twitch, X, of course, YouTube. I see you guys on YouTube. Thank you for being here. Twitch, I see you, Sarah. Sarah's out in Canada. Good to see you. Once again, family, as a reminder, if you're not following myself or Amber, be sure you click that follow button, subscribe to where it's applicable, and repost it if you're enjoying this as well. Before we get to the ending of today's broadcast, we're going to do a little bit of promos as well for her company. One last topic, and I think we can land if you're okay with that. I'm not sure. Are you doing okay on time?
We're good.
Okay. How would you, going back to the business aspect of it, how would you encourage people today that are, let's say they're in, I hate using this word, but like the rat race, or because there's nothing wrong with people having a job. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're providing, God bless you, that's amazing. But for people that want to take that jump into the business realm where they want to embrace the hurt and the struggle to become successful, how would you start them off? What type of advice would you give them?
Mindset is the most important thing that you are going to need. And If you are not already in the mindset of knowing that you are capable of being able to walk out into that world, that is where I would start. Also, mindset is going to come up constantly. And my indicator of if you need a mindset shift is ask yourself, do you think you need a mindset shift? If the answer is no, and you likely need a mindset shift. That's typically like what's going on. And I think it's really, in my opinion, the biggest hurdle getting out there into the business world is really being in the right mindset and understanding that it is going to ebb and flow. It is going to be inconsistent. There are going to be times that you need to pivot, and many of them. There are going to be times that you fail, and many of them. And anybody who tells you that they built a business and they never failed, run clear far away from them, especially if they're trying to sell you something, because that is just not real. You will fail, and that's just a fact, but you need to be able to be willing to fail forward and figure out like what it is that you did and how you could do it differently in the long run. All of that stuff is it's very important. So I would say definitely start with mindset. If you feel like you are in that place, that's when I think you know that you can take the leap. A lot of people look for finances and security and all these like outward things, but in reality, it's because the mindset is not in the right place yet. Yes, set yourself up for success as much as you possibly can, but know that no matter what setup you do, there's still an opportunity that you're going to fail. There's still a likelihood that you will in many ways, and you need to be okay with that.
How many times have you failed?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Especially even in my corporate career, man, I learned a lot navigating the seas of corporate life. I think that's what helps me navigate the seas of social, to be honest with you. But the lessons that I learned in thinking that I had the answer, and maybe having good foundational experience in certain things, but thinking that I had the answer, maybe not looking at everything completely through or from as many angles, or asking enough people for their advice and taking all of that in and then digesting it and trying to figure out like where I'm going. I'm an executor, so like for me, I don't really like pontificate on things often. I just go and do. So the opportunities for failure for me are endless, because I'm just gonna go do it and see if it works. Well, sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So I've had many failures, and each time I have tried to look at what went wrong and what I could do differently the next time. Sometimes you just do stuff and you're like, I will never do that again. You just know in every way you're like, never do that again, and that in itself is helpful, because then when you come up to, the thing is that people operate behaviorally, like in many similar ways. I think as someone who did so much training and education for people and observed a lot of stuff, and just as I'm a natural observer in general, that's just like what I do. But then someone who actually went into a professional setting and observed people and their behaviors and pinpointed like what behaviors were causing what issues, that kind of stuff actually helped me to like understand, kind of forecast, if you will, like where things are going. So that's really helpful. But like even in that, there's so many variables that go into place when you are going out into the world on your own, especially, that it's like, you just never know. You never know what's going to go on. I think you just have to be willing to understand that failure is a part of life, and it's important, and it's a way for you to learn more and grow more and utilize it that way.
Did you get any good takeaways in your corporate experience, I guess, if you will?
So many. I think people are interesting in general. The way that people operate are interesting in general. I prescribe to a narrative where I don't get involved in people's nonsense, their drama. I could care less about it. I don't have time for it. So I stay away from it. The challenge is that a lot of people like to go into these things and have these conversations and do these, and for whatever reason, I mean, it's not necessarily always malicious. Sometimes it is, but it's not always necessarily the case. It's just kind of the way that people operate. So being able to navigate those seas, especially as someone who doesn't want to be involved in other people's stuff, there was a lot of learns there for sure. That was like really, that was really helpful. I think I got a ton of development from my bosses because they really believed in me, and that was a huge help. Um, but still, I think, navigating those professional relationships, learned a lot of lessons in navigating professional relationships and how different personalities operate, and how to tactfully go about each one of those situations based on different personality types. Because as much as people are very different and they do all these things, there's also a lot of stuff that is very similar in the way that people behave. So if you can understand like human behavior and different personality types, and how certain people like to respond or do respond to things, you can navigate a lot. And I think that was something that I learned a ton about being in corporate. I also really learned that a lot of the things that people care about don't matter in the long run. And I think that has served me well, not only professionally, but in life in general. I'm much more of like, I'm an overachiever by nature. I'm an Enneagram 4, wing 3. If you know anything about that, I'm an individualist overachiever. So this is like, we've got a lot that we're dealing with here. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's that whole piece of me that wants to do all of that. But because I've noticed through all of these different situations, like what's really important and what's really important to me in life, I'm a much more namaste type of person now, after having been through the ringer with all of that. So that has helped me both professionally and personally. I mean, lots of takeaways. And then, from a business perspective, especially being able to be behind the scenes in cosmetics and understand like what all of that looks like and what they're doing in such a large company, because Benefit is owned by Louis Vuitton. So it's one of the big three, like within that realm. That was really helpful from a business perspective. So corporate life, it taught me a lot. I could go on for days, honestly.
So if you get a buyout, would you remain on staff? And let's say a big time company buys you out, would you stay on board as like maybe on the creative side of it, or and be that corporate side of it?
I go back and forth on this, but I think that I'd want to let them do what they want to do. But I would want to cut a deal that they maintain the integrity of the product. Because first and foremost, the first thing that they're going to try to do is just go and change alternatively any kind of filler or anything that they can to make it even cheaper, which in my mind does not make sense, because when you are buying millions of units of something, I mean, we're talking pennies. Okay. So like, it's not, probably overall it's like a good sum of money, but you could have a better product that is giving really good results to people that wants to make them keep buying it, instead of needing to like always constantly come up with some kind of marketing scheme in order to do it. That is the thing that is most important to me. Like if I was to be presented with that situation, the most important thing to me to get out of that would be that they allow the integrity of their product and the brand to remain intact. Like that is something that's really important to me. I don't know that I would want to be caught up in all of the stuff that they're going to then do. You know what I mean? I think like my time and energy would be better served going out and doing, like I said, like finding other people who want to build a small business and coming alongside them and investing in what they have and wanting to, mentor and do stuff like that. I think that would be a better way for me to spend my time than be worried about, what they wanted to do for marketing for Christmas 2027.
You talking about pennies on the dollar. Truth is, if they can save those pennies, that's somebody's Christmas bonus.
Yeah.
That's a CEO's vacation pay. Or I actually met a former executive for, I think it was State Farm. I think it's State Farm. It was an insurance company, and he became famous because they basically cut pennies on a dollar, and they were able to save that money. But he got a multi-million-dollar bonus, and he got famous by saying, "I don't want it. Let's give it to the employees," and it went public. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I actually met him in Hawaii, and I was just kind of talking, and I was like, wow, he had a multi-million-dollar bonus and he gave it to the employees. But the other thing that got my attention about it, and you were talking about giving 10%, right? No matter what you do, no matter how successful you become. The one thing that got my attention with this guy is that because he came to the Paul Mitchell estate in Hawaii. And so what I would do, all I did was woodworking, sanding, woodworking, refinishing. But when guests would come to his house, I would play concierge basically. And well, this guy that I'm talking about, I never forget, he came to me one day when they were leaving. He came and gave me a fat envelope. And I don't ever work for tips. I was blessed regardless. He gave me a fat envelope. I never forget. It was just fat, like just bills. And let's just say it was a good week in terms of eating out. And it's just like, when you go to a restaurant, people complain about giving X amount of tips, whatever. This guy was all about, I'm going to bless you no matter what the dollar amount is, whatever he felt led to do. And I think what you shared in the beginning or earlier about 10%, I'm going to give to a charity or this or that. I think the generosity aspect of it, whether you get a buyout, the ability for us, you talk about mindset, is there's something about successful people that I've met that are legit successful. And I'm talking about generationally speaking. The one common trait they all have is a very high level of generosity. And one of the people that I met when my mom was sick in Hawaii, so I met, they're billionaires, and we became friends with them. But when my mom got sick, I never forget, they gave such a crazy amount of money. And we didn't ask her, hey, it's just she felt led and she just blessed us with it. And it's like crazy. Like, I ain't gonna lie, when we saw the transaction, I was in the kitchen. I looked at my wife and I just started crying. I started weeping. Well, because my mom was sick. She passed away of cancer, and it wasn't about the dollar amount. It's the fact that these successful, wealthy people were willing to bless somebody. And it wasn't a tax deduction because they used their personal accounts. When it's a tax deduction, when you see a business name attached to it, it was their personal, And so, going back to what we talked about earlier, I wish you well. I hope that I can't stop thinking about the buyout because that would be pretty epic.
It would be.
You get a really good.
It would be. It's funny that you say that thing too. Like, one note just on the generosity thing. It's interesting that you say that because my dad always taught me to give money away. You always said, give money away. You want to make money? Give money away. Give money away. Like, just keep giving it away. And everything will just come back to you. Like, that's just the nature of it. And you have to be generous. He used to teach us that you can't be like people who say, oh, when I have $1 million, then I'll help people. Because he would say, if you're not helping people now, you're not going to help people when you have $1 million. Money actually exacerbates problems and good qualities. So both. So it's like, if you're already doing that now, then when you get to have $1 million, you are, you're going to give even more away. But if you're the opposite, you're not going to do what you think that you say you're going to do. So I'm glad that he instilled that in me. Honestly, I love being able to be a part of my community and be able to contribute in those ways. And I think it's true. I think that like you said, I think people who really do like they find success because they have integrity, because they're persistent, because they have generous hearts, and a lot of times we're doing what we love, and we just are trying to serve people.
Let me put this comment up because Blaze is putting up some comments. I'll put it up on here. She says, Amber is one of the most generous and most genuine people I know. So aside from your passions in the beauty industry, who is Amber? Like what else? I know comedy is a little tidbit what I saw. Who are you? For those of you that are listening or watching on other platforms, who are you outside of the beauty industry and skincare?
I'm me. I am a writer. I love to laugh. So I love to write jokes, and I love to like do stuff with comedy. Honestly, I would love to produce something at some point. I've written a couple pilots. I'm working on a new book, a new comedy book. Not like just to work on it, you know what I mean? Just because it's like I like doing stuff like that. I'm obsessed with coffee and Cholula. It's my favorite hot sauce, and I don't care what anybody says, it's the best one.
Cholula.
Yeah, I have little bottles of it everywhere in my bags, at my shop, at my home, just everywhere. I just love it so much. I mean, honestly, it's like I'm the kind of person that like just wants to have peace of mind and be invested in people who are invested in me, and live abundantly and do as much as I can while I'm here. Both to experience it myself and to help other people experience things. I love like working out, and I love, eating well, like clean, and just like really like paying attention to stuff like that. I'm super into like the health side of my life, especially now at this point. I don't know. I love like little towns. I'm a huge fan of small towns and quaintness and stuff like that. I love to be at the beach. Like, it's just anything that can bring peace of mind, recognizing like the beauty in life, like just around me, the abundance and all of the little things. Like, that stuff is important to me. And I'm just me. Like, what you see is seriously what you get. If you were talking to me in person, you would be experiencing the same experience. Like, I don't even know that I have time to figure out if I can like not be who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I can play characters and do like what's what from a comedic perspective because it's funny and silly. But like, if I was to even try to do something that in my life, like it wouldn't work for me. I'm just not I lay too much out on the table, honestly. A lot of the time. I lay too much out on the table. I share a lot of stuff. But I also believe that healing is in revealing. It's good for people to share things. I learned a lot of that after I lost my son, my second son. And I think that like it's just good for people to like know people for people, and like to be a human, and to recognize that like not everything that you do that you're not everything that you do, really. I think people are too lumped up in their identity, like as like, I am a police officer, or I am a lawyer, or I am a business owner, whatever it is. It's like, yeah, you are those things, but you're mostly a human, and you should really lean into that human experience and like what that is like for you individually, because it's something very unique and a gift, in my opinion, from our creator that you only get once, and you only get in this form. So you might as well lean into what this is as much as possible.
I want to say this. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
For those that don't know, I try to research people that I talk to. I try to take some time to be thoughtful of who they are. And my perspective is whatever is public on print, social media, I take it as it's public information, but I also try to ask my guests what they're okay and not okay with. So I want to thank you for sharing that, Amber, because I didn't go there. You did, and I thank you for that. I know my wife is watching. She's on a 30-second delay, and when she hears you say that, it'll be very touching. And we have 4 here, and we have 3 that are not here. And so, we have that journey too. And as a father, as a husband, it's a different weight, I think, when we talk about those things. Whereas the mother, it's a lot different. And so thank you for sharing that. Man, I'm trying to collect my thoughts after hearing you share that. One of the things I'll share with people that are considering doing what we're doing, I want to encourage you, just be real, organic, but be sensitive as well. If someone's not willing to talk about something, be okay with that. And I'm not a reporter, I'm not a journalist, but I want to ask you this, and we can get close to landing if you need to land. How do you write your material? I have paper. I have a whole stack of cards that, I don't use them all when I'm live, but I also have my journals, paper journals. I just started a Scrivener, I think it's called Scrivener account.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't know how to use it yet, but I love it though. And I use Google Notes. I use everything. So how do you write your content dominant? Do you use paper, computer? What do you use?
It depends on what I'm doing. Scrivener, actually, Stephanie, I don't know if you know her, at King Ari Press. She is an editor, publisher, and stuff. She was just talking to me recently about Scrivener, and I had messed with it in the past, but it wasn't really like something that I loved. I'm gonna maybe try to go in there again. I use a lot of different processes based on like what I'm doing. So if I am doing, like say I'm going to write a pilot, I use a brainstorming process that I do through, and I use a pre-write. There's like a platform called Pre-Write, and I use that. That has some cool stuff like some storyboarding, different things that you can do visually, which is often helpful for me. And then I do a card system where I actually like utilize cards to do scenes, and then I go back through and I use Fade-In for software for that. I like Fade-In. I like the way that it works, and so I go and I do that way. Otherwise, sometimes I'm just like writing things down. I'll have a premise for a joke and I'll just like put it down on random notes. I'm also like, this is like where I get very disorganized, is like in my notes, like they're everywhere. Like I have stuff in Google Docs, I have stuff on pieces of paper in my shop, I have stuff in my bag, I have stuff in notebooks, and it's like, I don't know where they are. I just come across them and I use them. And if I'm doing like if I'm writing a monologue for our comedy improv on Saturdays, I'm usually doing that in Google Docs. So I'm like kind of just going and like figuring it out that way. And that's mostly because then I'm using it as I'm going like throughout the comedy improv space sometimes. It just depends. It really depends on like what kind of product or project that I'm doing. Recently, Stephanie also made me like a writing plan in Canva, and to take me through like more of like the novel writing process. And so we just did a live recently on all of that. That was like really helpful. And I'm now trying another process. I think if you're a writer, things just come to you like at certain times, and just do whatever makes sense for you. I don't really think there's like a lot of rules to writing. A lot of people are always asking stuff like that, but in my opinion, it's just like, it just happens. And then you just kind of utilize whatever processes make the most sense for you. And sometimes that's pen to paper. Sometimes that is digital.
Well, at the least, write it down or jot it down somewhere.
Especially if you're in your 40s or later, absolutely write it down, because you will forget it.
At least you'll forget it. It'll be somewhere up there. You just got to figure out how to get it back out.
There are things in there that I don't know where they are, and I don't know if I'll ever know where they are again. So at this point, I'm like, I write everything down, because it's just like I could be mid-sentence and I'll be like, just forget it. Let's move on.
I'll tell you this funny story. I had a dream, I want to say last week. And so sometimes I'll wake my wife up and I say, honey, I got to tell you this dream. And so I'll tell her this dream, and I say, are you up? She goes, yeah, I'm up. So I'll tell her the dream, and then I'll pause because I fall back asleep. And then she's like, honey, are you going to finish telling me? Yeah. So I wake up, I tell her the dream. And then we're going back and forth. And then we wake up officially later on in the day. And it's like, honey, do you remember the dream I told you? She goes, what dream? I said, honey, bruh, I just told you my entire dream so I don't forget it. And it's like, I wish we had something like a Neuralink to record stuff while we're sleeping, I want to just say thank you again, Amber. We're going to land the plane,
course.
but before we do, I want to be sensitive to your time. For anybody that's not following Amber, the entire broadcast. I'm glad I'm doing this for Spotify too, but for anybody that is not following her, I'll put up her her user handle here on the screen for those. Man, I'm such a brain farter. Here we go. So that's Amber's user handle. It's Amber Champagne on X. Are you on any other socials? I know your businesses.
My businesses, yeah. I at Champagne Apothecary all over Meta, at ETHYST Skincare all over Meta, Pinterest as well. We're on Pinterest, and then but really like personally, X is where I am. I don't really use any of that other stuff. At Champagne's Brain on X. Sorry, if you're not on X. Get on X. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else to say about it.
I did put up a post. I said it's still Twitter, and I put LOL, and that was just to poke the bear, and the bear wasn't that big.
Yeah.
But I like the branding of X. I don't like the fact that you can't verb it because it sounds weird. Hey, did you X today? I'm like, huh? Like, did you send a tweet out that's my only. Yeah, it's like Xy. A lot of X's, but. It's Champagne's Brain on X on Twitter, and then we're gonna do rapid fire in just a second. But before we do that, for people that don't know, if you ever guess and we're getting close to landing a plane, it's rapid fire where we ask Amber a few questions and then we'll land the plane and we say hello, goodbyes, whatever. Once again, family. Also, I'm gonna play the quick promo of her business. If you don't know what that is, it'll be up on the screen, and we'll be back in 35 seconds. You know, it's funny. I when I play those videos or commercials, I use the time to kind of clear sinuses, drink coffee, and I forgot that. So I record live on my device. I have a mixer. It records me blowing my nose, coughing, hacking. So I got to go back and edit all that stuff. And my wife is scolding me. I can hear you coughing. I'm like, oh shoot. But
it happens.
It's been fun. I know we didn't cover all the topics, but that's okay. We'll keep it short and sweet for those that come back at the next time.
Yeah.
So before we do rapid fire, closing thoughts, comments from you, Amber.
Remember to prioritize your well-being. It is incredibly important to take care of yourself because you cannot do anything without you. So even if you have the best intentions in the world and you want to pour into everybody's cup around you and take care of all of those people, well, guess what? You need you. So please remember to make time for yourself every day, to care for yourself, to reflect, to reevaluate, to help yourself grow, to just give yourself a moment, peace of mind, and allow yourself not to get caught up in all of the the craziness, really, is what it is, the chaos of life, because you miss a lot when you do that. So if I can encourage you to do anything, if you take anything away from today, find ways to care for yourself.
All right. Here we go. You ready?
I am ready.
Number one, why did you do this broadcast with me today?
Oh, you're from what I know, you're a great speaker and funny and fun, and the conversation has been great, just like I expected it to be. So that's really why.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Question number 2, Massachusetts or California?
California, hands down.
Okay, this is a segue to that. Why?
Oh, because, let's be real. Right now, Massachusetts is the number 1 most expensive state to live in. And honestly, what are they giving me in exchange? Potholes, snow, mass holes. There's a lot happening over here that, like, honestly, you just don't want to be dealing with. Look, the quaintness, the beauty of fall, lovely. I really do love it, but like, no. California, much more relaxed vibe. I mean, personally for me, I lived a mile from the beach, so I don't know. That's like a dream life. You know what I mean? Like, who doesn't want that? California all day.
Oh, I'll agree with you because when my daughter graduated high school, well, homeschool, anyways, we took her to Boston in 2019. We spent a few weeks out there, yeah. And then we traveled to Colorado as well. But we spent a few weeks in New England. New England is that what they say? The New England area. And bro,
and boy, do they tax you like it.
But I agree with you. Like, winters, no thank you. Because those winters are bad.
They're rough.
Like evil.
They're rough.
Yeah. So you're in the right industry because skincare, legit, like, for sure.
Yeah.
Question number 3. Is it X or is it Twitter?
X.
Why X? You were going to add to that.
I love the branding of X. I think it's way better. I never liked anything about Twitter 1.0. I had an account, actually. I started my account in 2012. I tried to get on it a bunch of times. Did not work. I got on it back in last June, so it'll be a year in June that I've been on the platform. I was connected to 11 people. Now I'm connected to thousands, and I have had a fantastic experience comparatively to old Twitter. And so just based on that alone, I will go ahead and give reverence to Elon and the name that he chooses.
I'm a firm supporter of what Elon's doing. Like anything else, I having a business mindset, there's some things I know that if I ran it would be different, but I agree with that. Number 4, money not being an issue. Where would you travel and stay there for a month? If money and time, business, none of those things are an issue, where would you travel to and spend 30 days?
Japan.
What?
Japan. I would go to Japan. It's one of my number 1 places that I would like to visit. I also want to go to like Egypt, Dubai, India. I have a lot of places on my list, but I think that now that I'm thinking about India though, you need some time there too. I don't know. I would.
Japan is good.
Japan is a great one. I just there's so much about the culture that I admire and love, and there's so much history and lots of different things, experiences that you can get out of Japan.
If you're not following my friend Dave in Osaka, we've been friends since 2015. I met him on this app through live streaming and actually interviewed him. He's a global sensation. He's known for eating fugu, the puffer fish. He eats it live.
Wow.
He's eating all kinds of crazy stuff. Unbelievable. But so I'll tag him and you can see his account if you don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Straight up Japan. Number 5, home gym or 24-hour fitness gym?
I don't know about 24-hour fitness, but Planet Fitness, yes. I know.
Just kidding.
I know, but I'm a big fan of it. It's like I have home stuff, and I do stuff at home too. But it's the motivation of like getting into the gym that's really big for me, and that's what has fueled my fitness journey. So I would prefer the gym.
Do they still have that lunk alarm at Planet Fitness?
Oh, I'm sure that they do.
That?
I actually did a funny. I didn't put it out yet. I did it a while ago. I did like a funny, reel essentially of like all the things that says like no judgment, and then it's like, and then it goes to the lunk alarm, and you're like, literally, this is the epitome of judgment. I need to put that out in the airwaves. I think people would like that.
I just found it ironic that they're a judgment-free zone, and yet if you're one of those guys, they judge you.
Yeah, no, they judge you so hard. Yeah, that's why it's just like, what?
Okay, question number 6: raw beef or raw fish?
Raw fish.
Yeah,
Sushi
beef from
day.
Hawaii, raw fish all day. But I did have raw beef last month. It was really good. I enjoyed that. But yeah, I'll eat raw fish all day, every day. No, question number 7. If you don't know, that's fine. You just got to pick one. Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn?
Like from a comedic or a podcasting perspective?
I won't elaborate. You just got to pick.
Theo Vaughn from a comedy perspective, Joe Rogan from a podcast perspective. How about that?
That's funny. Because I have them split 50-50 just because of they have a different approach. And I know Theo Vaughn is a lot smarter than he acts because he's got a degree, if not multiple degrees. But he's smart. He entered a space where he fits and he does it well.
Yeah, he does.
So, question number 8. I can't read my own writing. What does it say? I gotta take off my glasses to read. My gosh. How much money is too much?
I don't know that. Gosh. I don't know that I am the arbiter of like how much money is too much, but I would say that if you have a lot of money and you're not doing anything productive with it and you're not helping society with it and you're not helping other people with it, you should reevaluate, in my opinion.
I think that's the difference between Elon versus Jeff Bezos. And it's not that I'm not saying Jeff Bezos doesn't give, because if you're honest about Jeff Bezos, as much money as he has, I don't think he owns more than 10% of Amazon. So that means the other 90%, what are those people doing? You know, are they creating jobs and those things? But with Elon, he's innovating.
Yeah.
He's creating projects and jobs and an economy where it's innovative and it's crazy and outlandish, I think, a lot of them, right? So I agree. I don't know if I would be able to gauge that either. Question number 9. Do you engage with all of your followers on social media?
Yeah, and I always have. And anybody who knows anything about me knows that that's how I built my account. I built my account through engaging. I never listened to any of the BS about don't engage with people under 500 and don't be like, you know what I mean? All the stuff. I mean, it's like the only thing that I ever had to do was really stay away from the show more at one point, and that was because it seriously was messing up my account. And I will say it forever. Thank you to Brock Pearson and Shane, who helped me figure out how to get out of that situation. But it's like now that doesn't really affect the accounts as much anymore. And even those things, like I engage with people from my notifications. Like I don't like go and check post and get on a burner and like, or a grifter account now that we started calling it a grifter account last night.
Grifter.
It's just a new term that we have for it. But it's like, I don't do any of that stuff. I think that the whole point of social media is to engage with people. That's what people want. People don't want to just keep replying to you forever without any kind of reciprocation. So that's what I've always done. That's what I always will continue to do. I don't engage with nasty comments. If you have something nasty to say to me, you can go ahead and sit in the show more. Matter of fact, my favorite is when you're in the show more so deeply that even when I click on it, it's not there. That's like just the best. You know what I'm saying? Because you're like, what did this person say? But even the stuff that I come across, I won't engage with negative stuff, you know, that people have to say for no reason. But I will, if you're commenting on my stuff, I'll engage with you all day, every day.
Did you hear that story of Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams, the Twitter story? You ever hear that story?
Know.
So Dave Chappelle was talking about someone came up to him with a cell phone and said, "Hey, Dave, someone is interacting with Cat Williams," and he created a fake Dave Chappelle account. And so they were going back and forth. There was this Twitter beef. They were arguing online. And so Dave Chappelle's like, "Oh man, what do I do?" He says, "I don't know. I'm going to see him next week." So Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams are in the same club doing a comedy show. And Dave was like, "Man, I don't know what am I going to do?" So finally he goes up to Cat Williams and says, "Hey, Cat, I got to talk to you." And so he says, "Cat, I just want to let you know, I want to apologize. You know, everything that I said about you on Twitter, that's not me. I don't have a Twitter account, and so I just want to apologize." And Cat Williams says, "Well, I don't have a Twitter account either." And so they're both laughing because there's just two fake people arguing with each other online. And the moral of the story is, sometimes these things are just fake and they're not worth your time.
Yeah.
And it's funny that these two comedians didn't even know each other like having this fake beef, this fake argument.
That's the hilarious part of it too, because like some of it honestly is like reality TV. There are people out there, even on our level, creating fake stuff to get people to engage with. So it's a weird world out there, but you know, I'll keep engaging with my audience for sure.
Last question number 10 is, what is your desire for the next generation after you're gone?
My desire for the next generation after I'm gone, and I have said this over and over and over, is for people to be able to be human first, to grow up in a society where they're able to understand themselves as a human first. They know what their passions are. They know what they love. They know how they can contribute to society. And that in itself will make them want to contribute to society. I think that we've set up a system where we've forced people to contribute to society, which is good. We needed to get people to understand that they have to be a part of it and all of that. But I think now, especially with the advent of AI and all the technology that is coming down the pipeline, we should be able to get ourselves in a place as a society where children are able to understand who they are as humans, understand what they are capable of, understand what their strengths are innately, and to be able to do the things that they love and are good at and contribute to society in a way that makes the most sense for them so that they can live the most abundant human experience that they possibly can have. There's so much beauty in the human condition and the human experience beyond jobs and money and all of these things that people focus on every day. I hope that humans after us get that experience where you're not going to not have any problems. There's still going to be things going on. I'm not talking about a utopia. That's just the nature of life, right? There's always going to be conflict and different things that you have to navigate. But to be able to live an experience that you're leaning into so much of who you are as a human, that you're able to actually experience things that I don't think people get to.
Very well put. And I just want to say thank you for just carving out time of your day to be here. I know we both had things to do today, and we kind of went over time, and I do apologize for that, but I'm grateful. Family, if you're not following her, once again, that's her user handle. For those of you on X, it's Champagne's Brain. Obviously, you guys know mine, and all the links will be in the bio for all of the people that are going to be listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, and all the other podcast outlets. Thank you for listening. Make sure you give a rating as well. We appreciate that. On behalf of Amber and myself, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And to all the replay viewers on the live stream, thank you. Be sure to comment and do all that good stuff, because it actually helps us out as content creators. On behalf of Amber and myself and my family, I want to say we love you guys. God bless you guys. Ahui ho. Wait, before I do my final, Amber, after I end the video, we'll still be in the green room, so we'll just hang out, do our final goodbyes. So one more time, family, thank you for your time, your hearts, super hearts. We don't have super hearts, but anyways, thank you for your data, all that good stuff. But most importantly, family, thank you for your time above everything else. And I truly hope that the exchange of your time for this was worth it. Love you guys. God bless you guys. Ahui ho, aloha, and mahalo. Yes.
Woke up every day like this. It's a brand new day. Hey.